shutting down over border funding. Democrats gearing up to try to block President Trump's declaration that there's a national emergency at the southern border, and President Trump appears ready to veto it. Yesterday, on Sunday Morning Futures, Maria Bartiromo got reaction from Democratic Congressman Jeff Van Drew on opposition from his colleagues.
Congressman, are you going to join your colleagues in pushing back against the national emergency?
Well, let me just say something real quickly. You know, when I believe the president is right, I support him, and I have supported him. When I believe he's wrong, I say that he's wrong. I'm not a real strong partisan, and I believe in bipartisanship. In this case, I think the president has overreached. I think this is a constitutional issue. I think it's an important issue, and I do think it sets up a precedent for many reasons.
Joining us now, the former chief of staff under Bill Clinton and McLarty Associates Chairman Mack McLarty. Mack, I guess everyone throws on their constitutional attorney hat or scholar hat at these moments, but we have to acknowledge there are something like 31 national emergencies already in place, and a lot of folks are just saying the legal thing isn't necessarily about overturning President Trump's declaration as much as slowing it down. What's your thought?
Well, Charles, good morning. First of all, I'm not a constitutional attorney. I'm a business person. I'm not a lawyer. But having said that, I commend President Trump and agree with his emphasis on border security and emphasizing legal immigration. However, when he talked about the wall, and I've done a lot of work on the border and a lot of work with U.S.-Mexico relations. There are differing opinions about how to best secure the border. I think the truth is you need a lot of different approaches. But, of course, the president in the campaign said Mexico was going to pay for it. We're not there now. Here is the real point. It's a complicated situation. The Democrats are going to oppose it. And you've seen a number of Republicans oppose this type of approach. I hope it's resolvable. We'll see. But it looks like the president's going to veto the bill if it comes to his desk.
You know, the question I have, Matt, is most people agree that we need to do something about immigration, and most people agree that we need to do better with legal immigration. So why is it that we can't have a conversation about that? It just is so black or white, wall or no wall. There's no in between, and it becomes one side's humanitarian, one side's totally not, when I think everybody's trying to achieve the same goal. Was it this toxic?
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I agree with your point and your approach. That there is clearly a need for comprehensive immigration reform, and there is a deal here in terms of the dreamers, the young people who are in the United States through no fault of their own. They were born here. They've gone to school here. I think people have a positive feeling about their participating in our economy. But you make the right point about legal immigration. There is an issue. What do you do with the 12 million or whatever the number is of people who are undocumented who are here? How do you deal with that? And there's been a lot of different approaches. The problem is there's been a lot of conversation, not all constructive, but no agreement. That's what really needs to be done here. That is not where we are. The president's in a pickle, to be descriptive about it, and the Democrats are going to oppose him, and we've got a stalemate, and that's not good for the country. It's not the right way to deal with this issue, in my opinion.
Mack, I'm going to, this is Jonas Ferris. I want to go off what you just said here. I'm going to not ask you any political questions. Let's pretend there's no political issues whatsoever with this wall. You can do emergency funding and spend as much of you can take all the money out of the nuclear submarine budget and make a huge wall and have drones and all kinds of stuff. Pure business point of view. Is illegal immigration good for business net as a whole United States, or is it bad for it?
You said illegal immigration,
Jonas. Just people come through versus being very strict on all H-1B, very restrictive on legal versus just almost open borders. Like, just from a pure business point of view, what's better?
Yeah, I want to be sure I understood your question. Thank you. No, illegal immigration is not good for business, in my opinion, but it's not the right thing for our country. We've got to maintain the sovereignty of our country. We have to secure our borders and be very careful in our legal immigration. We do need certain workers at high skill levels. We need to attract those kind of workers and make it make a clear pathway for them to come here.
Right.
I think there are a lot of ways to support our economy, including part-time workers, particularly in the agricultural sector. But, Jonas, you make an excellent point. Business has a responsibility here, both large and small, in terms of adhering to the law and only hiring legal immigrants. And we've got the technology, the data to do that, and those laws need to be rigorously enforced regarding business.
Yeah, some people believe that maybe if businesses were punished more, it would help curb some of this. But Mac, I do want to ask you, and we don't have a lot of time left, but I've got to ask you about Amazon ditching HQ2 in New York. You know, they're not going to have the 25,000 jobs. There's a lot of backlash from local politicians kind of forcing this issue. And now there's a big split amongst Democrats. Your party, you've got progressives who are getting, they're celebrated, if you will, and they've got the momentum. But then you have folks out there like even Governor Cuomo, who's pretty upset at all of this. So what's happening? What's going on within the Democratic Party, and will it indeed be the party of a new form of socialism?
Charles, the Amazon issue really does, I think, highlight that there is a vigorous debate within the Democratic Party, and we're going to see that played out in the 2020 primary for sure. Having said that, I think in this particular case, you had Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio agreeing, which they seldom have done in the past, on attracting Amazon. And their point was that, as I understood it, Amazon would generate over $20 billion in revenues. And that was where you got the $3 billion for the subsidies or incentives, is probably a much better word, to have Amazon come to New York, competing against other states. So I think it was a mistake not to go forward. I see the reasoning about these incentives from business. I think there does need to be a balance, but I think this was a mistake.
Mack McLarty, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks.